Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a brand new series that I'm starting here. I'm calling Zebu Nation Plays the FM Scout Academy Challenge. Now, if you don't know who or what FM Scout is, it is a YouTube channel that posts several helpful and interesting videos about Football Manager, and they've recently started a challenge series where they post videos explaining different challenges that you can undertake here in Football Manager just to basically test your managing skills. And this one kind of stuck out to me. It is the Youth Academy Challenge. And as soon as I heard this challenge, I had the idea that I would use an MLS team, and not just any MLS team, but Dallas FC. And let's see, I guess before I get into why I'm going to use Dallas FC, let's go into the challenge and what the challenge is. So there are 3 rules to the challenge, which is number 1, no transfers in. Number 2, no loans in. You can transfer out and you can loan out if you want to, but not in. And then only using academy players for your team. Now, obviously, they say in that first season that's probably not possible, so they left the option open that you could use other players in your first season, but after that you had to get rid of all those players as best you could and just slowly siphon in your academy players. Now, because I'm using an MLS team, I have to make a few adjustments here. Number 1, with the no transfers. That's impossible in the MLS because of how the system is set up. Basically, in MLS, if you have an academy team, because a lot of MLS teams don't even have an academy team, but if you have an academy team, bringing players up isn't like in other countries where you can just call them up from your academies, or your under 18s or your under 23s, and then send them back down. You can't really do that in the MLS. If you sign a player from your academy, you have to sign them like a transfer. So I simply can't do no transfers. The other thing that I wanted to do is, they said no scouting in their video, but I wanted to use my scouting to find former players who came through my academy but were now playing at other teams, and I wanted to go out and sign them if possible. So that way I could bolster my numbers on my team a little bit that way. So I figured that's kind of a loophole I could get around. The no loans rule, that's fine. I mean, there are a couple of loans on this team right now I can't get rid of. So, I'm just not allowed to get rid of them for whatever reason. The agreement that we had with the parent team. And I'm not allowed to call some of my players back as well. So, I have to, at least for this year, I have to sort of skip around that rule a little bit too. And then the rule of using only academy players. I have to make a slight adjustment to that one, because in the MLS, the academy systems are very, very undeveloped. Like I mentioned, there are teams that don't even have academy teams. So because they're undeveloped, because a lot of these franchises that do have them only developed them a couple of years ago, basically, maybe 10 years ago at most, they started their academies. So what I'm going to do, aside from academy players, I'm also going to include super draft players. Because what the MLS Super Draft is it's the yearly intake, I guess you'd say, of college and university players from around the country. Because basically in the United States, the university system known as the NCAA, that's essentially the nationwide under 23 league. There's, for all intents and purposes, that's what it is. It's all amateur players. Nobody gets paid any money. So essentially, your first professional contract is with the team that drafts you via the Super Draft. So I figure that's an okay amendment to this challenge, because it's not like they've played professionally elsewhere and you're bringing them in. It doesn't even count as a transfer, like bringing them up from your academy. So it seems like a decent loophole to me to be able to use academy players and Super Draft players. So that's what I'm going to go with for this challenge. Now, why did I choose Dallas FC? In MLS circles, it's pretty widely known that Dallas FC has as an organization, they have the most investment in their youth program and in their academy. They have ownership who believes in using youth players. They have general managers and other executives who believe in using academy players. They have a coach, a manager who believes in using academy players, American players, and they've really put a lot of investment into that. So if we go and we look at the club, of course, look at their facilities, you can see that reflected in the game, in that they have excellent training facilities, excellent youth facilities. They only have average junior coaching, but we can fix that. We can help with that. Youth recruitment is established, which a lot of the other MLS teams are nowhere near as established as Dallas FC is in terms of youth recruitment. So I think for this challenge, Dallas is definitely the best team in the MLS. If you want to try the Youth Academy Challenge, it would be pretty difficult, if not impossible, with some teams. But Dallas at least has a chance of making this happen. So, on that note, let's take a look at transfers. I've done a lot of movements already. Take a look at the schedule. I played through the entire preseason, so it's been a couple of months of tinkering with the roster and everything like that. Take a look at the transfers here. Transfer histories. It's not a huge transfer history, as you can see. I did transfer out Michael Barrios to Deportivo Cali for $1.4 million. That's a pretty good MLS transfer. $1.4 million, that what did it? Triple or quadruple my transfer budget, so that's fine. And then I brought 3 players up from my academy. Miguel Angel Escobedo, 17-year-old American, homegrown, of course. Fullback. And I really like the look of this guy. He's got good potential, 4-star potential. I really like his physical stats. His strength, his jumping ability. He's 6'1", so that's pretty good for a fullback. His pace could use some work, but 10 is at least reasonable, as is 10 crossing. So, he's got good mental stats, teamwork, determination, all that kind of stuff. So as far as candidates go from the academy, this is a great start of pulling a guy out and having him be the potential to be a star for this team. That's pretty good. Then I also pulled up Phil Van de Castile, defensive midfielder, again, 17 years old, homegrown American. He's a little less impressive. He does still have 3.5-star potential, so that's good. But his physicals aren't quite as good. His pace and strength, not really at MLS levels. He does have good fitness, but really it's his mental attributes that are his strengths. Bravery, concentration, teamwork, work rate. His tackling and marking aren't bad either. Strangely, he has very high heading, even though he's only, I think, 5'7" or 5'6". So I don't know. That's kind of a wasted stat on a defensive midfielder. But I need a defensive midfielder. We'll talk about that once I look at the full roster. But I just needed this guy. So it's good that he's got potential, but he's not going to be a huge help this first season. Then Joe Velasquez, attacking midfielder. Again, 17 years old, American. He's a decently well-rounded player. He's got good technical skills. First touch, free kicking is very helpful. Technique is good. Teamwork, vision, work rate, pretty good. Physicals are not good at all. His pace is decent. I don't mind 12 pace for a midfielder. That's pretty good. Strength is way, way down there. But that's, a product of being only 17 years old. Unfortunately, I need this guy too. I don't have attacking midfielders, and I need him. So, we're going to be stuck with old Joe Velasquez. He doesn't have as much potential as the other guys either. But these were the 3 best players from my academy, without a doubt. Take a look at the academy real quick. As you can see, it needs some work. Needs quite a bit of work. We've got several just scrubs in our academy that, pointless to even have these guys here. They're not gonna amount to anything, as far as I know. I don't think that these guys. I mean, I can't even click on them really. I guess I could scout them and see what. I don't know if that really does anything. Scouting these guys. I guess I could give it a shot. Can I? No. Do I have to scout them one at a time? Get rid of that guy. Can I scout? Nope. Get rid of that guy. Can I scout? Nope. Why can't I scout? Help. 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 I gotta scout them one at a time. Okay, so we'll take care of that at some other time. But, we gotta increase the quality of our recruits, because those 3 guys were head and shoulders above these guys. And even I might even have to sign some of these guys. Matt Brody's not the worst defender I've ever seen. 11 marking, 11 tackling is borderline, but it's at least usable. He's only 5'11", only 9 strength. I mean, I don't want to use this guy, but if I have to bring him up just for depth, I might do that. Same with these right and left midfielders. I don't really want to use right and left midfielders, but if I do, I guess I'd call these guys up. The only interesting fella here is Jamie Lish. He doesn't have a lot of potential, but he's got the stats where it counts. 13 pace, 14 finishing. I mean, I've had worse players score goals for me than this guy. So, it's a possibility, but this shows you what we're looking at. Every year we're going to have a couple of guys, 2, maybe 3, who are worth anything, and then we're going to have a bunch of just dreck here. So, that's no good. Let's go back to the transfer. So as I mentioned, Michael Barrios is out. But in the MLS, you don't just transfer, you also trade. So I've made some big trade. Let go of Maximiliano Urruti. I got from Toronto. I got $65,000. 2 super draft picks, first round and second round pick. That's pretty good. You're going to see that as a bit of a pattern here. What is this? All right. NYCFC, Chris Seltz. Who is this guy? Goalkeeper. Yeah, so I got rid of him as well. Got a couple more draft picks for him. Then traded out Mauro Diaz and Carlos Gruezo. Again, I got some more draft picks for those guys. So, it's funny because there's a ESPN podcast. It's their nationwide soccer podcast, but it's based in Dallas, and they cover mostly Dallas FC. Well, they prefer to cover mostly Dallas FC. They cover other things as well, especially the national team, and they dabble in the Premier League and things like that. But they do have a focus on Dallas FC, and if a new manager came in and traded away those players for draft picks, they would crucify that guy. So I know that what I did here was probably not the smartest thing in the world, but it's part of the challenge. Get rid of good players in exchange for academy players. In this case, in exchange for draft picks, so that I can improve the team that way, because I've left that little caveat of being able to use super draft players. So let's take a look at the team, and what do we got here? New advice available. All right, so here's our formation. We're going with the 4-4-2 diamond narrow, which is a formation I enjoy using. Now defensively, we're pretty good. We've got Jesse Gonzalez in the goalkeeping spot, 20 years old, Mexican, but he is homegrown at Dallas FC. We're going to use him, and that's the thing about being in Dallas. We're on near the southern border, near Mexico, so we've got a lot of that Mexican and Latin flavor to our team, and that's okay. not just Mexican nationals, but also, Mexican Americans. So we've got a little bit more of that. I think that's partly why their academy system might be a little better, because they might have a little larger pool of players who want to play soccer. And that's a big problem in the United States. If you go to other states where they don't have that kind of population, maybe there's less enthusiasm for soccer, less young people who want to look at soccer as a profession. But less of an issue in Dallas because of the Latin population down there, Mexican population as well. Fullback Zach Lloyd, again, 28-year-old American. Not exactly homegrown, but he is a super draft player. He was drafted to FC Dallas way back in 2010, so he's eligible. And we got Matt Hedges, Walker Zimmerman, and our guy we called up from the academy, Escobedo. So these guys are all, let's see, Hedges, what's his history? Again, he's a super draft player. Zimmerman, I think he's an academy player. Nope, he's a super draft player as well. So, there's going to be lots of super draft players, but we're going to hopefully, have more of these homegrown guys in here. There's Van de Castile. He's starting right now because Kellen Acosta, one of the real brand names of players who came up through the academy system. As you can see, he's played at FC Dallas for 5 years. He has no other professional, any kind of football. So this is basically where the beginnings of their academy team was. And he was one of the first stars to come out of that. But he was injured in the preseason, so he'll be back. Right now he can play about, the doctor says only play him about 45 minutes a game. So I'll bring him in second half and get him warmed up a little bit. As you can see, he has no match fitness going on. So now we're going to have the youngster in there. Victor Ulloa. He's going to be our best midfielder. He's another one of those guys who's played nowhere else other than Dallas FC. Paxton Pamical. This is an interesting guy. 16 years old. Homegrown. 16 years old. Came up from the Dallas Juniors. I didn't sign this guy. He was here when I got here. So he's got a lot of potential, a lot of interesting abilities. But he's going to be playing right away. There's no time for this guy to have any kind of honeymoon. We got to get him in there. He's going to be a full-time starter in the midfield. There's Joe Velasquez, another one of our academy players that we showed earlier. Strikers, we got some interesting strikers here. Tesho Akindele. He's a versatile guy, 23 years old. He's a Canadian, but again, he's a super draft player. So that counts. And again, he's young. He's only 23 years old. He's not that great of a player, truthfully, but he's got some good physical stats. Got a lot of pace, a lot of strength, decent finishing, so he should be interesting. We have another youngster here, Corey Kraft. Only 2 stars. He's got 3.5 star potential. That's pretty good. Again, decent pace. He's a guy who needs a lot of improvement, but he can play a lot of different positions. Target man, defensive forward, deep line playmaker. He's already has a couple of goals in the preseason. As you can see, he is another product of the academy. So these are the kind of guys that we're going to be dealing with here. Not superstars by any means, but we've got enough, I think, to finish somewhere in mid-table, possibly. If these guys start to develop, we can pull out maybe a few wins that we shouldn't. Defensively, we should be okay, especially doing the diamond narrow. Once Acosta gets back, that'll help our defense immeasurably. So I think we're going to have to rely on that defense for a while. And we've been running standard throughout the preseason, but we're going to go We're going to go a little bit more disciplined here to start the season. Start with standard and then go to counter or defensive if we need to. So there we go. Let's play our first game. Yes, we're all lacking match fitness. We need squad numbers for some of these guys. Escobedo wants number 4. All right, it's fine. Castile needs a number. He's a defensive midfielder. I like to give those guys single-digit numbers if possible, so I'll give him number 6. Velasquez, attacking midfielder. I like to give them double-digit numbers, so I'll make him number 10. That's good. Submit numbers. Oh, I didn't look at some of my other factors. I didn't look at my roster in full to talk about some of the guys I need to still get rid of, but that's fine. This video is going to be long enough. So we're playing Philadelphia. I don't know much about Philadelphia. I guess I could have looked. Can I look now? I can probably look now. Take a look at these guys. Senior squad. They're in good shape, that's for sure. A lot of 100% fitnesses. Do I recognize any names on this list? Fabinho. I've played with this guy before. He's an older player, of course, but he's pretty good. Let's see, anybody else? Not really. Chris Pontius is injured. That's too bad. All right, so yeah, Philadelphia Union. Let's go on to the match. Let's see. Only one game has been played. Let's see. You're about to take charge of your first match as Dallas FC coach. Can you sum up your feelings on an occasion like this? It's a special day. Can't wait to get started. Matt Hedges is set to make his 125th appearance in the club today. How much does he mean to everyone? I'm delighted. He's a wonderful player. How much of a boost is Maurice Adou's absence? I don't really like to talk about that kind of stuff, so I'm focused on what we can do. The public want to hear a proper answer. How about no comment? You've left Kellen Acosta out. Is that due to his injury problem? In other circumstances, we might have risked him, but I don't feel the need to do so here. How important is the role Paxton Pomykal will play after signing his new contract? I did have to sign him to a new contract just for MLS roster reasons, but, that's fine. He's one of the biggest talents for his age that I've ever worked with. He's absolutely everything. That's a lot of praise, but whatever. Okay, so they're going with the Burning Man formation. 4-2-3-1. We're going, of course, the diamond. There are interesting red striped uniforms on here. I don't think that's Dallas's normal uniform. Maybe it is. We got red, white, and blue colors, so I guess that's possible. All right, let's do tighter marking on their strikers and their advanced players. There we go. I got to set that up a little bit better preseason, but whatever. Encourage the players, give them a bit of a morale boost. Passionately go out there and impress. Yeah. All right, let's start. Here we go. Dallas Stadium here. Not exactly Dallas Stadium, but it's FC Dallas Stadium. What is it? Toyota Field, I think it is what it is. So here we are in the red and whites. On the attack, there's our youngster Escobedo. All these guys have little yellow notes next to them. I made sure to demark the guys I was going to keep. I just had to figure that out, who was who. So that's why these guys have little note markers next to them. Let's see, what are we looking at here? Key highlights, I guess. We'll stick to key highlights. We struggled to cope with the numbers in midfield. Yeah, that happens a lot with this formation. They always say that. Nothing I can do about that. All right, here we go. Uloa with the corner. Is anybody there to get it? Yeah, Hedges. Great header. First goal of the season by our central defender. Nice play. Always good to get some set piece goals. It's a good crowd. I think we had 7,000 season tickets. That's pretty decent. There he is. He beats the defender. and beats the goalkeeper, and then this guy just stood there staring at it. So that's good. We got the 1-0 lead. Here we go. We get a free kick. Ooh, that was tricky into Pamacale. Velasquez, our youngster, gets it stolen. That's probably going to happen quite a bit. Zimmerman cleans up the mess and resets the offense out wide to the youngster Escobedo. Got a lot of youngsters in here. I hate to look at what our average team age is. It's got to be in the 20s, like low 20s. There's Velasquez. Oop, bad pass to Pamacale. Pamacale 16, Escobedo 17, Velasquez 17. Kraft, forgot how old he was. I think he was 19. And everybody else is in their 20s. So yeah, we're low. Pamacale, nice into Akadele. Almost got that one. That was some nice play though. Really enjoyed that. We managed to control the ball. These guys might do alright. Escobedo taking the corner. So we've already got our youngsters playing important roles. You know, Velasquez is going to be taking our free kicks. Oop. Oh, we can't handle this. Lloyd has an injury, a bruised rib. We're going to keep him on. That's the thing. This team isn't going to be able to survive a lot of injuries. And from what I've experienced in the MLS is there's a lot of injuries. I don't know if that's because they play a little more rugged style or if I play a little more rugged style. This ain't looking good. That's a goal. But I have experienced a lot of injuries in MLS, so I usually try to keep fairly large rosters just so I can, sub out anybody from any position at any time. That was just too easy there. And our defense should be our strength. Oof, Joe Velasquez injured again. Look at the first game, 2 players injured. Guy we can't really afford to lose, Velasquez. We have to bring in Carlos Lazarzo. Now, he's a fella who is much better than Velasquez, obviously, but he's not somebody I want to keep around because he is, not homegrown, not super draft. He's not nothing. So he's Colombian. He violates all the rules, but, we're allowed to keep him here in this first season, so put him up there. You can see he's a much better player. Attacking midfielder, that's fine. So that's fine. But, we have no other option at that position other than him, so we have to keep him around for at least a little while. And there we go. First half, 1-1. Passionately, keep going. You can still win. Instructions. We might try to control the match a little bit, work the ball in the box. Wait for overlap from the fullbacks and see what happens. Seem to do a pretty good job of that. That's how we got our goal. Or well, that's not how we got our goal, but that's how we got our best chance. Leave Lloyd in there, even though he's injured. It's not that bad of an injury, I don't think. Potential upper body injury. Okay, here we go. They get a highlight. It's not looking good. Eloa, can you steal that? Nope. Oof, off the crossbar. That could have been a goal. Our goalie has some slow reaction times. I'm not happy about that. Gonzalez, what are his stats? Decent. Aerial reach is good. 6'4". Nice jumping. But reflex is 12, that's okay. Agility 13, that's okay. He's average goalkeeper. But hopefully he gets better. He's got that potential. Oof, we're piling up the yellow cards here. The second half is really flying by. So let's make some subs. If we have any subs to make. Alright, I can bring in Acosta for Van de Castile, even though I would like to get rid of some of those yellow cards, if possible. I guess I could bring in... I don't have a lot of options here. Harris is a decent midfielder, but he's not homegrown. Hollingshead is not feeling good, but he is... I believe he's a super draft player, so I could play him. No, I don't want to play him. So we don't have a lot of options here. I'd like to get Ulloa out of there. I guess I'll bring in Harris. Can I bring in Harris? No, he doesn't really play midfield very well. Striker and fullback. Weird combination. Hollingshead. I guess I could bring Hollingshead in. I'd like to get rid of Lloyd and his injury, but Escobedo has that yellow card and he's tired, so we'll take out Escobedo. Alright, get a couple of subs in there, see what we can do. Acosta should be one of our main players this season. You know, he's a real good player, but he's got to get over his injuries. There's Ulloa with the corner. There's Acosta. Doesn't quite come of anything, but you know, he got in the mix. Got to get his feet under him again. He's got that low match fitness coming off an injury. Here we go. 2 minutes of stoppage times. Looks like we're going to end up with a 1-1 draw, which isn't the worst. Isn't the worst result for this team. It's going to be a little bit of a struggle this season with these players, but hopefully they get better. You were unlucky today. I mean, they scored one good goal, but whatever. Yeah, let's take a look at the analysis. So here we are. Lloyd had 0% pass completion, or cross, and an injury. That's a bad game. 25 interception for Hedges, only 11 for Zimmerman. Well, Zimmerman will get better. He's a player I'm familiar with from FM 2016. I went out and got him for my team in FM 2016, and he was a really good player. So hopefully he can be that in FM 2017 as well. He's got great physical stats, so he just needs to get a little improvement. 0% crosses from Escobedo, so our fullbacks really let us down in this game. I think that's pretty obvious. But other than that, we did okay. No chances for Kraft. Not good. All right. Leave the match. There we are. 4th place with 1 draw to our name. Let's see. What was the other thing? Oh, yeah. I was going to look at squad. Look at our registration. So here's our registration. This is a thing that's in MLS. It's not really in a lot of other leagues that I know of. Is you have to register which players are on your roster. You've got a 28-man roster. And the MLS has all kinds of roster rules. So I would have signed a couple of more players from my academy. I can sign one more player from my academy right now. Sign him to a reserve contract. You can only have 6 reserve contracts. That's why I had to give a couple of other guys new contracts. Give them, you know, basically starter or rotation level contracts. Or at least full, you know, the equivalent of being a full-time versus part-time player, but you're not full-time or part-time. It's just that kind of distinction where, I don't know, you're not a reserve player, basically. So I can sign one more player from my academy. As you can see, my roster is a little low right now, only 24 players. No designated players, because that would be foreign players are designated players. Mostly, you can have a homegrown designated player if you need to pay him a lot of money, I guess. Then for internationals, I only have 4 left on the roster. 8 off-budget players, which that's complicated. I won't even get into that. And then our salary cap is ridiculously low, 1.925 million out of 3.65 possible maximum salary. So, you know, we traded away all those high dollar players, And now we're going to be making fat loot for our finances here. You can see our finances, overall balance is going up. So that's good. Income, we should start seeing our income just soaring this season because our payroll is so low. We still have the $2.2 million transfer budget. Probably won't use much, if any, of that. The one exemption for that was I went over here, searched for the homegrown players, and Breck Shea. He was a homegrown player at Dallas who got away. You see, he started as he's a super draft player way back in 2008. Went over to England for a hefty transfer. Now he's come back to the U.S. So if I could get a hold of this guy, I've tried to trade for him a couple times. Orlando isn't biting. But, maybe I don't need him anywhere. I'd probably use him at left back because I don't use left midfielders or advanced midfielders. And that would take playing time away from Escobedo. So maybe I won't go get him, but if I need to, he's a guy who I might have to spend some money on. But in the MLS, there are rules, and I can't just go out and spend money on him. There's only so much money I can spend on him. It's not like in the Premiership where if another team in the Premiership has a guy you want, you can just throw buckets of money at him and take him, basically, if they agree, obviously. But in the MLS, there's rules. I can only spend about $1 million. That's just can't spend any more to take a player from another MLS team. So there you go. That prevents the rich teams from just getting richer, I guess. But it is annoying when you are one of the richer teams. Anyway, I guess that'll do it. I don't know what else I can look at here. I'll play a few games, play to the mid-season, I guess, and then check in later. Okay, until then, see you later. Bye.